this is on. Good morning, first of all. We hope you had a nice breakfast and a nice account activation. We have a few announcements before Tim is going to tell you a bit about our IT systems. First of all, if you have questions for the people online, you can ask them again on d120.de/questions. You can post them in there. The people in the room can, of course, just put your hand up if you have a question. You don't have to use this website, only if you want to. Also, if you live in one of the student dormitories of the Studentenwerk, you need an Athene card for the washing machines to use them. You might have already realized that. The thing is, since this semester people don't in general get these Athene cards anymore, so if you need one because you live in one of these student dormitories and you can't wash your clothes otherwise, then go to the hard set, maybe today or tomorrow. They are near the Mensa, basically. If you have questions about that, you can approach us again later. And you can ask for a Athene card there. You need to give them a reason. You can just say, okay, I'm in one of these student dormitories. I can't wash my clothes otherwise. And then you can get one of these cards so you can wash your clothes. And also another announcement, on Friday there's not OVO anymore, as you might have realized, but there's a party in the evening, and it's at d120.de/party. You can get a ticket there. The party is at the 806 QM, which is like coffee shop from the Asta near the Mensa. So yeah, if you want to join us for the party, head to d120.de/party. And now, Tim can tell you everything about Toucan.
Right, thanks for the introduction. Good morning as well. Way too early still for me. I recommend coffee. And I looked up my time schedule for today, and I'm quite happy that we do have an hour, because I accessed the Toucan backend earlier, because I'm going to show you how to register correctly in Toucan via the backend. And we don't really have a good translation. In German would be Entschleunigung, so it is apparently a de-speeding tool today. It took ages. So you can relax. Let's start with the fast things. In most of the cases, the courses are organized via one of the two Moodle systems existing in our university. There are two Moodle systems because there's a central one offered by the HRZ for all the departments. We are the Department of Computer Science, and one of our colleagues actually did his research, or is doing his research, also on educational techniques and IT for education, and therefore hosts his own Moodle system and has way more possibilities than the central one. The real benefit for the central one is for the lecturers that if they state in one of the entries for the course descriptions Moodle as a buzzword, that the students enrolling in the exercise groups in Toucan are automatically added in the course in the central HRZ Moodle system. And you can't get into the courses otherwise. So therefore, if you encounter very below on the course description always the buzzword Moodle, just register in due time in Toucan for the exercises as well. And then you should be enlisted in the Moodle course in the central HRZ Moodle at some point. They're doing that in batches, so it might take a bit. Sometimes you need credentials, sometimes not. You will get to know that in the first week of lectures usually. So that's the central one. I'm probably not really diving deep into Moodle. I assume every one of you has used something similar or a Moodle system already. If not, it's essentially just a platform where courses can be managed. You have to register for the courses. It's ordered in different ways. You can download different skins and use different skins and whatever. Personalize it a bit. I will show you how to log in our computer science Moodle because that's slightly different. Those are the links. You will find them if you just Google Moodle HRZ TU Darmstadt to reach the central one and Moodle Informatik to reach our one. So that's our one. And if you steer into the registration, and unfortunately it's German, and I was not able to switch it to English, should be possible somewhere. Not using that much, to be honest. Don't use this. It's a trap. That's the right one. So, and if you steer into that, you can log in. Then you should have your two-factor authentication ready, steady somewhere. I don't. It's always pain in the ass. I don't even know which version I'm using, to be honest. Huh? Ah, here. Everything to just keep you chilled and relaxed. Right? So, the most important thing here at our university is don't stress out. Never stress out. Also, if you run into issues with examinations or whatever, drop by. Most likely there's a solution, or it's not that harmful. We're quite chill department as well. So yeah, that's my dashboard. Yay! I'm heading also the bachelor's mentoring system. Those are the courses usually, and sometimes I'm enrolled in courses just to check on the colleagues. So if a student drops by and the student advisory tells me there's nonsense happening in a course or something, I'm directly looking it up, right? So you have a dashboard, and if you go to the landing page, and scroll down, you will find a lot of information. A lot of information on exam registrations and. And at some point, you will reach, for example, the courses that are not given in a specific semester, but continuously offered, for example. And then, here in the summer term, for example, the electives or the mandatory courses if you have remedial coursework to do, and then you can just select something that should be offered by Isabella Grassel, and a short description, no credentials required to enroll, and then you can directly enroll yourself in the course. Now you're streamed live. Cool. And you will find more information, announcement, QA usually, and also material. Within the lectures, usually every week new material is published, a long line the course offers. Most people in our department tend to communicate via the Moodle course as well. So if you have questions on specific courses, the organization, exams, later on achievements, submissions, or either try to get in touch with them via Moodle. You will most likely also find the academic staff members responsible for the courses. Short hint, probably don't get in touch with the professors directly. I'm stuck with 1,500 to 2,000 emails the whole time through, unanswered ones, or even unread. Their number is way higher, way higher. Some professors are sending out automatic replies with actually the detailed number at the moment. So I'm currently stuck with 20x thousand unanswered emails. It might take a bit to receive an answer. Like for an infinite amount of time. If you get in touch with the professor, always include either the secretary's office of the group or the academic staff member responsible. So that's essentially it. You can also, if you want to go for repeat exams, have an eye whether you can register to the Moodle course in the previous semester. If there's no credential required, just to gather the material, to prepare, to get in touch with fellow students probably, to prepare for the exam. Also, if you're not sure whether you want to go for a specific course in a respective semester, have an eye on the year before. if the course was offered, you can probably enroll in the course and look out for the details at the latest stage in the semester, which should enhance the decision at some point, right? So that's essentially a short introduction of the two Moodle systems. My recommendation, as always, is just get into the systems, play around a bit, try to figure out the most important functions and whatever. Get used to it, makes it way easier than in the following semester, at least, right? Okay, now to the slow part. Unfortunately, I have not requested test accounts for the productive system to play around and show you the registration. I have access to the Toucan backend. I can exmatriculate all of you. Don't piss me off. I can change your grades. Even better. Anyways, I'm using test systems, and it's so slow. It's always slow, but this was fucking amazing. It was like I clicked on a link and was almost able to fetch a coffee. That was frustrating. But anyhow, let's start. I have an hour, so should be fine. So you steer to the registration, the login. I'm not sure, is this the new login? No, right? Okay, it looks different in the productive system, in the students' front end. I have no idea why. Because we don't need two-factor authentication as staff members in the... Then you enter your TU-ID and the password. I'm tired anyways. Have I mentioned yesterday that we call it Toucan? All right, so cool. Let's switch to English. Fun fact. If you steer into the course schedule or whatsoever and then switch the language, you will be thrown to the landing page again. Don't. Change it to the right language directly from scratch on. Oh, cool. Okay, so cool. English. So it's Mr. Testinger. I'm just overwriting all the data in the backend. That's essentially what you see when you log in, and at the later stage of your studies you will see a lot of messages and whatever, not so many events, but a lot of messengers, most likely from the central facilities, in very rare cases also from the lecturers or the dean's office from our department. So what can you do? I mean, if you want to switch your study program, for example, you have to use a Toucan application again, but calm down. Not as long as the first time. You don't have to submit much papers again, and. So it's way shorter, way easier, but still it's a Toucan application. Or if you want to take up another study program in parallel, for example, right? So I have no idea what help means. Probably also of interest is the area of service. Services. It should be named services. If you encounter wrong translations, ignore them. All right, so I can't show you the personal data. You will find your own personal data here because the only thing I can't overwrite in the Toucan backend is the matriculation number. And that's the unique identifier. So, but via my documents, you will find documents like the statement that you're enrolled for a specific semester, if you requested some further documents for example, BAföG or something like that. You should find that there. Also, if you request an official transcript, what you see in your own performance record, in your own overview in Toucan, that's not the official one. We have to create the official transcripts by hand via the examination office. It's a few clicks, and then a PDF pops up, actually, via my documents. That's the one you should use for official purposes, for example, right? Right, so the application request, for example. Also, you're allowed, of course, as I mentioned yesterday, for German universities, high participation of students in the management, organization, and political systems of the universities. So there are elections, of course, happening. You will get more information there. There are some forms. If you request something, if you're enrolled in more than one study program at the same time. And oh my God, is that so? Whew. Exmatriculation, deregistration. If you just want to get deregistered, exmatriculated from one of the study programs, don't use that. The semantic here is, I want to get away from the university completely. If you want to de-enroll, deregister, exmatriculate from one study program, drop by the central facilities and request that in person, right? Otherwise, you will probably be surprised. Leave of absence, for example, if you do an internship or if you have a stay abroad, something like that. It's also possible to register for the RMU university, the RMU studies. That's the Rhine-Main universities. We have a collaboration with Mainz and Frankfurt. And all the three universities are offering courses for students enrolled in the so-called RMU studies, which can extend your selection of courses, right? You have to apply then at the university, enroll there, conduct the courses. You can cross-check the transfer of credit possibility against myself beforehand. And at some point, you have to deliver a transcript for the real transfer of credit then. So, yeah, you can change your name, your location, where you live. Application for citizen change, for example, happens from time to time, and. So, my recommendation yesterday already was ignore the schedule. Just don't, right? That's the course schedule. You can also access without login to Tukan, where you can see the course offers for every semester and. Ordered in a very strange way, following old regulations in one specific study program. We're on our way to improve that, but yeah. So the schedule is overcrowded, for example, because you will, for example, see all the exercise groups, if there's more than one. Not solely the ones you registered for. So therefore, and it's not always correct as well. So probably don't use this schedule, create your own one. Okay, so the two most important parts probably, where the most mistakes are happening as well, or the most questions occur at the beginning. Examinations and courses. Let's start with courses. That should be a student from the Autonomous Systems and Robotics program, hopefully. Yeah. Okay, cool. Information again, some information here about electives, modules, courses, whatever, not really helpful from time to time. Via My Modules, you can see to which modules you were registered in a specific semester, same for the courses. That's the area to cross-check whether the registration worked out. Better? Okay. All right. So, and then of course, at some point, before you can see whether you were registered to modules course, you need to register. Let's start the very easy, not really time-taking process. Registration. Okay, cool. So, there are a few areas you can see now. Forget further courses. I was actually responsible for this department when we introduced this new management system at the university. And since then, there are no courses enlisted under further courses. And I have no idea why this area exists. No idea, really. Then we do have the additional courses. If you register in the wrong way via the course schedule, for example, your registrations will most likely be added under additional courses. because Toucan tries to help you. And if there's more than one adjustment for the course or the module you register for, it takes the least harmful one. And as additional courses are not counting towards your degree, nor do they have to be finalized or whatsoever, because they're really additional courses, it will, in almost all of the cases, add your registration to additional courses. As soon as the grades are out, at least officially and formally correct, it wouldn't be possible to add them to the counting regular areas anymore. And as you can only see whether you registered correctly after the grades are out, my hint yesterday to take screenshots or directly check whether you did it in the right way. We can partly see your registrations in the examination office Studienbüro, but it costs a lot of workload to look that up. So just make sure that you steer into the right, don't walk in front, there's the camera running. Just so really make sure that you steer into the right part of your degree when you register. That's the most and crucial part here. If you want to go for something really additional, no spare room left for additional courses, language classes, for example, then you can go for the additional course register there, right? Not all of the courses existing are always offered by additional courses, but the language facility, for example, offers their courses there. Then we do have the remedial coursework, imposed conditions, Auflagen. I already explained a bit yesterday during the study organizational talk. If you see a remedial coursework and imposed condition Auflage you got popping up there, you can register, right? If not, or if you're unsure or whatever, as I told you yesterday, get registered by the examination office at Studienbüro, right? And you will find more courses than you actually got as remedial coursework, because that's essentially everything that can be remedial coursework, Auflage, for every student. No distinction. It's not a personalized area for you, right? That's probably one of the most often popping up questions at the first weeks when freshmen in the masters are here. I don't have imposed conditions, I don't have remedial coursework. Where am I seeing like 30-something credits? Because everyone does, right? So just ignore it. Cross-check against the paper, whether you got Auflagen, remedial coursework, and just follow the procedure as described. So, master's thesis, forget about that. You're not able to register that on your own anyways. You have to submit a form where the professor has signed, where a title is enlisted and whatever, in paper form, to the examination office, and they will actually register you for the thesis, right? So, up until now, not really much areas of interest for you. And now, mandatory elective areas, and general education. And you will see that this follows already a bit the structure of your degree, because in other programs you don't have mandatory elective areas, for example. Okay, and as I already said yesterday, if you're enrolled in autonomous systems and robotics, and if the module course you want to follow in a respective semester is enlisted in the mandatory elective area, always steer into mandatory elective, because the minima credits to be covered are defined there. Of course, more courses offered in the elective areas. So as soon as you reach the minimum, then you can also register in the elective area, right? Then it doesn't matter anymore. So, mandatory electives. Recreational tool. Mandatory electives. If you steer into every area, you will actually recognize that it's a binary tree. We were working on whiteboards, my colleague and myself, for almost a day in my office, just creating the structure of the new degrees, following binary trees. So, totally easy. And again, let's go for sense. Most of you enrolled in autonomous systems robotics probably want to go for plan. I think the AI-related courses are in plan. Oh, yeah, why is that necessary? Because we can only manage 2 minima on the same level if we introduce another node on top. And we had to name them. So, it's It's a very short path, always. And then, yeah, we reached the modules. Let's go for it. Okay, I want to register. Yeah, it's even slower than the last time. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's, yeah, sure. Next, I clicked on register. Usually it's a bit faster. Okay, huh? Yeah, okay, yeah. As I said, I want to register. And you may think that you're done now, but you're not. It takes a bit. As I said, probably just the recording, double or 4 times the speed. Okay, yeah, cool. Back to registration. And as you may already have seen at the beginning, there was a course enlisted under the module. And as you register to the module now, the course registration is available as well. So, I want to register. Okay, it's essentially the same process, right? So 3 clicks per module minimum. Because in our department, previously called, we offer mini modules in most of the cases. So 1 module, 1 course, and then either 1 achievement, probably split up into 2, into more than 1 part, but 1 achievement. So that's the exercise groups, right? The small groups, exercise groups. If you encounter the Moodle buzzword in the description, you definitely have to select one. I would always recommend to select one because those are the exercises, either in a lecture hall where the academic staff members or the professors are providing more information, doing some exercises with you, something like that, or it's required anyways to get into the central HRZ Moodle course. So, and then you're not even done. Because at some point you need to register to the exams as well. So let's just finalize that. Because otherwise, of course, it's not possible to register to exams, you're not correctly registered. Exams are most likely bound to the modules. For old courses, modules, it may still be bound to the courses, so always register for everything you see. I tried out all the 3 test systems, A, B, and C, and not one of them was faster. I'm so sorry. But I have an hour, so that's fine. Okay. Not anymore. I had an hour when I started. Cool. Examinations. Because it would be way too easy to have the exam registration at the same page. Okay, essentially you go to the examinations, then you can see something, examinations to register for, and sometimes you need to select the semester where you have registered for the module in order to see the exam registration. We don't know yet why sometimes you have to select the same and sometimes you will have the display directly via My Examinations. The My Examination schedule, also not really 100% correct the whole time through, so probably don't use that as well. Just note down the exam date from Moodle or the lectures. And then you do have semester results and performance record. The performance record is something similar like the transcript of records. It's an overview of your study program and the courses you conducted and whatever. There are 2 credit sums stated at the end, and not one of them is correct. Because Toucan mixes a lot of semantics here. On the right side, the credits are the ones encountered or conducted within your degree, but only the graded ones. Our modules and courses are usually graded. General education, not necessarily. You will probably have the pass, not pass system as well, or transferred credits or something. So there may be some credits missing because they're just not graded. On the left side, also the additional courses, remedial coursework and whatever is taken into account. My suggestion is just calculate the credits on your own, recursively. It's a binary tree, should be easy, right? Note it down from time to time, should be fine. The semester result shows you the grades, the results of the exams achievements for the respective semester. The GPA calculated there is wrong. The GPA calculation you can see is wrong in many cases because there are different regulations, rules, how to round the same, and we have no idea. We discuss that almost every year with the students' council because someone is dropping by like, huh? Why? And we forgot at that time, and then we looked it up, and afterwards it's like, we don't know. But your real GPA is. It's way more complex in the back end to see how your grade is calculated. So it is probably just something to use for the individual grades, right? As I stated yesterday already, the exam registration periods and the module course registration periods may differ in different departments, facilities. Also, depending on the type of examination, it might differ in our department a bit. So really have an eye on the registration periods and specifically, of course, the deadlines, and go for it as soon as you can, because you can register 7 days before the exam takes place in Tucan on your own. So as long as you don't forget to deregister in due time, no harm in registering the modules, course, and examinations as soon as possible, right? Even though it's more than you actually want to go for till the end. If you forget to deregister, severe headaches are hard to cross-check by medical doctors. That's something I assume. I would recommend to register for more modules than you probably want to go, but not for all of them. We are offering roughly 250 courses, modules and courses each semester with the seminars and labs. That would be a bit overcrowded in your Tucan account. But as you probably don't know, if you have 2 or 3 courses where you don't know exactly which one to follow till the end or whether you can make it because of the external constraints or something like that, then just register for all of them, gather more information, have an eye on your forthcome, and as soon as you see that it's not working out, drop out of the first one. And then drop out of the next one until you reach your final combination, right? And that, of course, has to be done before the exam registration period is done, if you register then, or 7 days before the first exam takes place for the first course, and, right? It's a bit more relaxing from my point of view if you register everything you probably want to go for, and then just deregister over time. But don't forget to deregister, because your only chance to get deregistered is then being ill. All right. Now, unfortunately, one other thing I have to show within a different degree. So, we're locking out. Oh, that's fast now. No. They just don't want you to play around in Tucan. Or they probably have started another virtual machine or something. It's gone faster. Check, check. Yes. Jetzt? Schlechter? Schlecht? Ich bewege mich einfach nicht mehr. Vergiss es. So. Wait, als ob. Okay. Because I also mentioned yesterday that some students drop by at some point. I'm not able to see the courses to register. So just to make sure how to do that, right? So that should be a student enrolled in the CS program. Steering into courses again, because you want to register for modules and courses. So, and I won't show you that nothing is popping up because that apparently takes ages now. You need to steer into the My Elective Subjects area. Okay, and you can see now that you can choose one specialization, right, in the CS program. Okay, for the CS students, there are 3 specializations. As long as you don't conduct any exam achievement in your chosen specialization, it's not defined as chosen from point of view of our department. Then you can't deregister or change the specialization on your own as soon as you're registered to modules and courses. But of course we can. The first time you've taken an achievement, an exam in one of the specialization, it's counted as selected. And based on the regulations of the study program, you're allowed then to switch your specialization once in this scenario, right? Credits that are included in both specializations can of course be transferred and. The difference will be growing over time. So as long as you go for a change of specialization after 1 semester, shouldn't be really big of an issue. If you decide to switch before the master thesis, you will stay a bit longer. Let's just go for one of these specializations. Oh, and in the German taught Master Informatik, you have to select the individual specialization before you can actually register to modules courses there, even though there is no other one. As I explained yesterday, we probably are going to introduce some more, and then it makes sense. At the moment, that's the only way to model it in the Toucan backend. Right. So, assuming that most of the international students are going for data science and engineering anyways, prove me wrong. Anyone not enrolled in data science and engineering or want to go for data science engineering specialization in the CS program? Thought as much. Okay, cool. So now it's selected. And if you steer now into the registration, you will again see the tree structure. And besides the head of the core course catalogs or something like that, where you will find theory and software hardware, you will also find the specialization. If you have not selected a specialization, you would just see the core catalogs, or actually you will see the specialization, and if you click on specialization, you will get the statement, no specialization selected. Elective areas, specializations, yada, yada, yada. I'm frustrated. Any questions on that? Because really, it takes way too long, unfortunately. It always takes long. So prepare probably some coffee or tea, some beverage in general or whatever. First, the question from the auditorium, then. All right, so the question is if a module course is included in more than one area in the same program, for example, like in the CS, in the specialization, and in the core catalogs, in one of the core catalogs, to which area counts the module the course for? Depends on your registration. you have to steer into the right area where you want to have the specific course adjusted for, right? In your case. And unfortunately, legally not allowed to switch it afterwards into the other area. So make sure that you register correctly as you want to go for. That's the reason why I always mention, make sure that you steer into the right area of your degree and. Because otherwise you could just try, shift it to the other one where you have possibilities to exceed, and that's the only way to improve the grade, right? And that's unwanted by the university and the GT and whatever. So of course, if you run into timing issues otherwise, if it would be required to study one further semester just to take another course because you clicked on the wrong area, drop by in the consultation hours. Right, the question is, I'm not sure how that relates to the first part of your question. So yes, I mentioned yesterday that you shouldn't necessarily go for exact 120 or in the bachelor's 180 or whatever, because then you probably have to take classes, courses you don't really favor or like that much, which leads to worse grades and, right? And it feels then as if there was way more workload actually. And yes, the second part of the question was, is it true that credits can only be counted for a whole module? Yes. The credits are bound to the module. The contact hours are bound to the courses. In our department, mini modules, one course, one achievement, usually. So if you conduct that, you get the credits. In some other departments, humanities, social sciences, for example, you will find an arbitrary amount of courses within one module. And then you have to probably pass a few one of them, and that's then the passing criteria for the module, and only then you will get the credits, which leads to severe situations sometimes for German students with the BAföG. That's one of the reasons why we decided for the smaller units, actually. But yes, only if you finalize you will get the credits. Yes, the question is whether only a full module, it's a monolithic block, a module. You can't split a module, right? So it will count exactly with the given credits put on it in the respective area we registered the same. And unfortunately, we usually have a scheme of 369. Therefore, minimum of 6 credits, max of 18 credits, minimum of 18 in several areas, and. There exists some modules also in our department, for example, with 5 credits. And almost every semester a few students are dropping by. I reached 119 credits because I took Introduction to AI in Foundations of AI, for example. How can I solve this situation? And the answer is, take another module. Plan ahead, calculate it through. Right? You should be able to identify the credit points, and there are really not that much credits leaving the 369 scheme. But again, in the seminars, the regular seminars, 3 credits. If there's a bit more workload included, like peer review of other submissions from students, 4 credits. And then you will probably reach, and we have floating credits in our degrees, right? You can focus more on labs and seminars or on the lectures with the exams. So sometimes students just miscalculate something or whatever and are left with 1 or 2 open credits in some of the areas. In that case, just go for the course you most like, actually. That's the easiest solution for all of us. There are very specific other solutions possible under specific circumstances. So if you have questions on that and you're stuck in the situation, drop by, let me know. All right. Questions from the internet?
Yes, we have quite a few questions online. So the first question is, I need to register for either Aussagen- und Prädikatenlogik or Rechnerorganisation as part for my Auflagen. Why are they not listed under Auflagen, and what am I supposed to do?
two different, also the question, oh, that's recorded, okay, cool. Two different reasons. The first one, it was logic, right? Was it logic or automata theory? Logic. The logic course is offered by the Department of Mathematics. It's a service course for our department. And the regular grad-seeking students in the bachelor's need to reach some exercise points in order to be allowed to participate in the exam. But that's not holding true if it's part of the Auflagen, the remedial coursework, and therefore you have to get registered by the examination office for that one. And the computer organization is most likely a winter term course probably then. Otherwise, it's exactly the same reason. Prerequisites for the allowance to participate. That's what I stated yesterday already. So that's holding true for all the modules and courses in the first year of our bachelor's. You need to get them registered by the examination office anyways. Plus all the modules for courses that have been offered in the previous semester, which should relate to 50 to 70% of your imposed conditions anyways, so probably just let the examination office register you for the imposed conditions.
Then another question. If my study is not listed in can be used on Tukan, but it was visible for me under mandatory elective modules, can I take that class? I think they mean in like Tukan you have this can be used for, and then it says, for example, Bachelor of Science Informatic.
In the course description handbook. We're faking. Come on. That's an arbitrary statement in the course descriptions. Can be used in, and then the base study programs, and in additional study programs. Makes it way easier, because otherwise you have to, as soon as you change something, you have to change the whole course description handbook. 1,000 something pages in Word. No. As long as you can see it for registration in your degree in Tukan, you can register there. It will count towards this degree, regardless whether it's enlisted in the course description handbook or how the description in the course description handbook is stated.
Then somebody here asks, hi, when I open my specialization section in Tukan, it shows no information and appears blank. I think they mean probably in the registration.
Depends. I mean, either in the registration if you've not chosen a specialization, or if you're enrolled in a study program without a specialization. Like the IML program, for example, or the IT security program doesn't have specializations. In those study programs, you can just directly steer into the registration part. It's essentially the German taught master informatic and the computer science program where we do have specializations.
Then somebody here asks, when we register for a course on Tukan, we automatically get into the Moodle, but I have registered for a few courses on Tukan. A few of them I can already see on Moodle, but a few I can't.
As I said, it might be the reason that only some of them are organized by the central HRZ Moodle and the lecturers have stated the buzzword in the description. They may also use the central HRZ Moodle without stating the buzzword. Then you have to log in on your own, probably with credentials provided in the first week of lectures, or they're probably using the computer science Moodle, and we don't have an automatic transport of registered students from Tukan to our Moodle system because they don't like us. No, because of security measurements.
Then there's some questions about the timetable here in Tukan. So if the schedule on Tukan is not necessarily correct, how do we know the timetable for the first week?
Well, you can look up the lecture appointments in the course schedule and then just be there. Room times are listed in the course schedule. You don't even need to log in with your Tukan, with the TU ID or something. There will be more in listings, most likely for exercise groups, also in the future, right? But the weekly occurring regular meetings in the lecture halls are definitely the lectures. Just be there. And for the seminars, labs, you will have to gather more precise information on the kickoff meetings and whatever later on anyways.
Then here we have a question. Do the seminars have grades and labs not?
Everything in our department should have grades. not necessarily the modules codes from other departments.
Then somebody here asks, yesterday you mentioned we should take screenshots during registrations. Which pages should we screenshot?
The very last one, when you need to steer back to the registration, because at the top you will see the path for the registration and that you actually registered. And it shouldn't happen anymore. After one update several years ago, actually, registrations vanished. So it's also a security measurement for you, because that will be your only proof that you actually registered in due time. So it's really just, even though it feels completely stupid and unnecessary, just take the screenshots.
Then somebody here asks, how long does it usually take for grades to appear?
Yes. There is a legal answer and a realistic one. So by the regulations stated in the general examination terms of the university, the grades should be published not later than the last day of the first month of the new semester. That's the statistical semester, always running for a month into the next semester, actually, or before the next exam registration period starts, which is somewhat earlier in our case. But depending on the availability of staff members, the size of participants, and, it might also take a bit longer. Usually, most of our examiners manage to provide the grades in the first month of the new semester at latest. No promises made. That's it. All right, so as you can see, it's totally easy to get around the Toucan. Get in touch with Toucan, play around, get used to it, right? As goes for all the different systems offered. Look up the websites, adjust yourself in the university, in the department, connect to fellow students, and then it should be somewhat a no-brainer as well, even though it's exhausting and boring at the same time. But it should be fine at the very end. And if you have any further questions, if you run into any trouble or whatsoever, just let us know, right? All right, who's interested for Stay Abroad may see me later. All the others, have fun on the rotation days. See ya.
Das heißt, sind wir schon
It's not
auf
over.
Sendung Pegel? Ich arbeite
There's
zum
still
ersten
some
Mal damit.
program happening.
Works, perhaps? Okay. My name is Matthias Krügel, and I'll try to explain some or give an overview of some of the usually more working IT systems at TU Darmstadt. Let's start right into its question bank. I think the questions system for the online participants is still working, and I hope the QR code is the correct one. So regarding IT services and accounts, we have two service providers that are of interest for you as computer science students. The Hochschulrechenzentrum, the roughly translated University Service Center. They provide services for the whole university. The Toucan you already saw, also Wi-Fi at home, VPN access when you're offsite, mail, and I'll show some other things. Also in computer science we have the infrastructure and students pool service team that I am part of, and we provide some extra services that are not useful for the whole university, like a Linux computer room, printers, that would be useful, but SSH access to some VMs that are configured just like the Linux computer rooms, and if you need them, VMs for thesis, if you want to try something extra and it exceeds your running capacities at your home, or you only have a notebook and don't want to run it all day long. We were formerly known as Rechnerbetriebsgruppe, RBG. That name pops up in some old documentation, just that you have heard it. So, two service providers, two accounts. You all should have received the activation email or credentials for your central TU ID. That's the central HRZ account, and you will need it for logging into Toucan and other things, and may have used it already. For the computer science stuff, there is an extra ISP account. They both have the same username, and as of September last year have the same passwords. Also in old documentation it may show up, well, those are different passwords. If you can't log in, try a different password, remember it. That doesn't matter to you anymore. A guide for activation is on the d120.de/activation homepage. That you should have handled in your SD-Tüten documentation and leading to it. Also, I have the account at the end of this presentation. The accounts are usually used via single sign-on, especially the TUID one. I think most of you will already, if you already have activated it, you will see it. I heard some people are already playing with the Toucan one, so yeah, you already found that. And that one, since start of the year, requires two-factor authentication. The two-factor authentication supports passkeys, hardware tokens, time-based tokens. And it might be useful to register a time-based token for VPN, and if you ever happen to take an exam in a computer room here at the campus, because then you can't use your own laptop, so perhaps have a time-based token on your smartphone. But also that's explained in the longer activation page. One possibility to have a time-based authentication token is the TUDA app. That's also a rather new one that is mainly important as it provides your digital student ID. When I studied back 10 years ago, we had plastic cards for each new semester, and then there was a short time with paper cards, which can be requested if you don't want or can't use the app. But then you will get issued a small paper card, like standard office paper. It's not very durable, and the app functionality won't show up, the identification thing. So think if you want to use it. Additional features that are in this Tuda app is a Mensa overview, a newsfeed, a job portal from the guys that are providing the app. Also, it can be used for some things with the university library. Other important thing, perhaps more important thing, is email. Hochschulrechenzentrum provides you with an email address in the form first name, last name, @tudarmstadt.de, which may be retrieved via web interface or configured in your standard email client. Sometimes there is, let me rephrase it, we are required to provide you some kind of information. If many things will be as toucan notifications, other things if campus events, remembering your semester fees may go over this email address, so make sure to check it or configure forwarding with the filters. Some hints for that also on the activation page. Side note, we used to have, or still have, for the next 6 weeks, extra emails in computer science. We are closing that up. Also from the Rechenzentrum, Wi-Fi via eduroam. Since most of you are here for a master's degree, you probably know eduroam from your home university. One thing that also changed some years ago is that you not need to generate separate login credentials for the eduroam, so that if someone sets up a bogus network that says to be eduroam, they can't phish your main passwords for your main TOID, but only have the eduroam variant. But once it is set up, it usually works pretty good, not only here at TU Darmstadt, but also at some unexpected places through Darmstadt, as we have the other Hochschuls, the Evangelische Hochschule, the HDR, so it might pop up connected to eduroam in some places where you don't see a university building immediately. And a colleague of mine recently traveled to Pisa and was like, heck, even here I have eduroam. Yeah, it works internationally quite well. But if you are about and want to access something through the university network, usually that is, or the most important, the most thing I used it for when I was studying is research for papers. The standard regulations for paper access is you only can access if your library buys a big license, you only may access it from within your university network. And if you are abroad, from at home, etc., you can connect via VPN. There are 2 profiles, 2 modes of operation. The campus that alters your routes on your device like you are on the net, on the campus. That is that's important to use if you want to access papers for Springelink or something like that. And the other one is extern. That is if you only want to access the university services and want to have the rest of your internet traffic going straight to the internet. You unfortunately need the Cisco client on Windows or macOS or the OpenConnect for Linux. as they soon will enforce two-factor also for the VPN. And then the other clients that used to be Cisco compatible have the two-factor not yet implemented. Also, you need a time-based token to use the VPN, because it will ask for your username, your password, that can be usually saved in the configuration, but it then has to ask for a time-based token. The setup guide is at the HSZ website. So, a quick overview of some other HSZ services. ShareLaTeX, if some of you, your computer science students, some of you will do things in tech. ShareLaTeX is a web service hosted by Hochschulrechenzentrum, so that you can collaboratively work together on tech papers. Also, if you have problems with your local tech setup, just try it in the ShareLaTeX. It usually works just fine. Sometimes it has hiccups when you're uploading pictures, if you're uploading too much pictures. Important thing to note, if you write your thesis in that thing, don't make some backups, and don't plan to upload your thesis at the last 5 minutes, because if that thing is down for an hour or two, and that's your end state for your thesis, then you'll run into problems. Something that's also collaborative but will change shortly is a GitLab that is hosted at RWTH Aachen, and we currently can use it over agreement for the National Data Science Infrastructure for Ingenieurswissenschaften, but we are no longer a member of that, so it will change shortly. Unfortunately, I have no new information on that. I expect something in a meeting in 14 days. We are only announced that something will, we will get another platform we can migrate to, but no details yet. I'm not sure how much ongoing the planning is. One thing we already have migrated is the Next Hessen box. There was a version 1 without the Next. That's a sync and share Lösung working on Nextcloud, and every student has 30 gigabytes of free space there. And you can search per email and via TUID for other students, staff members throughout the university, and also some collaborating institutions. So if you work on a project, that can be used too. Some other HSZ services you already, you're here, so you applied via Tukan. Tim earlier talked about the TU Moodle. They're having a quite big high performance cluster, the Lichtenberg. They are providing us with access to Microsoft 365, so it is possible to get some Office licenses. They're having a big license for Zoom. If you register with your student address, then you can host bigger meetings and some stuff. They have a Windows computer pool. It's a bit smaller in the building next to Mensa. They have some multimedia equipment for rent if you want to give a presentation and need a bit more setup than here. And have an overview at their website. Then we have a quick overview about the computer science specific services. As I earlier said, we have a Linux pool room with 100 computers. They are running with Debian 12, and I'm planning Debian 13 in the next weeks. We have 3 GB storage on the file server for the pool per student, and the monitors are also usable via with your laptop via USB-C or HDMI. Please only consume water in the pool room so that we don't have to clean the keyboards or change the keyboards so often. As I said earlier, it is possible to access some machines via Secure Shell remotely that are configured just like the pool room setup. I'm not sure if that's relevant to you, since you're running master degrees. That's usually for the bachelor science and introduction to computing, and they have a setup that can be used in some of the first semester lectures. I'm not sure if one of you has interest in or really does need it, but also, as Tim said earlier, play around with it. It has access, and yeah, you're a computer science student, you may think of something. Also, printing, the HR set also had a printing setup in their pool rooms that is no longer used, no longer possible. We have 3 printers throughout the building that can be used for everyone who registered their computer science account, with 50 pages free per month. Scanning is currently unavailable since the Athena card is no longer issued. I will think of some alternative shortly. For further documentation, just search for the ESP wiki and print via papercut. Yeah, that's the most of it. The account registration or activation is via support rbginformatik.darmstadt.de, and the wiki is just a /wiki at the end. That's for a quick overview. Are there any questions between you and your lunch? Yeah. Sorry, I'm the Linux guy. The question was for the Windows Office, for the Microsoft Office stuff on, when you have installed it on your computer, there is some activation issues. I'm the Linux guy from the computer science department. I have no clue about that. Just contact the Hochschulrechenzentrum, and you're probably, if there's a major issue, you're probably not the only one. Yeah.
One question about the shell latex. So you mentioned that we can also use it, but is it then also automatically shared with the university? So can we use it for individual research as well, or is this like automatically shared with the university what they're doing there?
That is a question about the shell latex service. That's a web service hosted from the university. As far as I know, you have to grant other people access if you want to work shared on something. So if you just want to do some quick write-ups for yourself, just use it. Other question? Yeah. The question was, what is the difference between the overleaf and share latex? I'm about to get this wrong. I think overleaf is the company and share latex is a product of them, or is it the other way around?
Was renamed, but the university still uses the old name for it.
So the university still uses the old name, and that's we're hosting one instance at our university. So that's the main difference that you're not using someone else's cloud, but some of our computers if you're using the share LaTeX locally. Yeah.
Will you make the presentation available somewhere, or are the links from the presentation otherwise available somewhere like online or something like this? Because you had a lot of links.
The question was if the presentation will be made available. I will provide it to the student council. Yeah, I'm not sure if before or after lunch, and they will upload it somewhere on the D120 website. Other questions? I don't think so. So have a great lunch break, have a great time, and yeah, all the best.
Okay, you're now going to have a library tour as well.